Welcome. This is Soothing Whispers ASMR. As always, if there are any sounds or words you would like to hear me perform, please leave them below in the comments. Tonight, I thought we could enjoy some more of Aesop's Fables, beginning with the Peacock and the Crane. A peacock, puffed up with vanity, met a crane one day, and, to impress him, spread his gorgeous tail in the sun. "Look," he said, "what have you to compare with this? I am dressed in all the glory of the rainbow, while your feathers are as gray as dust." The crane spread his broad wings and flew up toward the sun. "Follow me if you can," he said. But the peacock stood where he was among the birds of the barnyard, while the crane soared in freedom far up into the blue sky. Moral: the useful is of much more importance and value than the ornamental. Next up, we have the Farmer and the Cranes. Some cranes saw a farmer plowing a large field. When the work of plowing was done, they patiently watched him sow the seed. It was their feast, they thought. So, as soon as the farmer had finished planting and had gone home, down they flew to the field and began to eat as fast as they could. The farmer, of course, knew the cranes and their ways. He had had experience with such birds before. He soon returned to the field with a sling, but he did not bring any stones with him. He expected to scare the cranes just by swinging the sling in the air and shouting loudly at them. At first the cranes flew away in great terror, but they soon began to see that none of them ever got hurt. They did not even hear the noise of stones whizzing through the air, and as for words, they would kill nobody. At last they paid no attention whatever to the farmer. The farmer knew that he would have to take other measures. He wanted to save at least some of his grain, so he loaded his sling with stones and killed several of the cranes. This had the effect the farmer wanted, for from that day the cranes visited his field no more. Moral: bluff and threatening words are of little value with rascals. Bluff is no proof that hard fists are lacking. Easy. Relax. Calm. The farmer and his sons. A rich old farmer, who felt that he had not many more days to live, called his sons to his bedside. "My sons," he said, "heed what I have to say to you. Do not on any account part with the estate that has belonged to our family for so many generations. Somewhere on it is hidden a rich treasure. I do not know the exact spot, but it is there, and you will surely find it. Spare no energy and leave no spot unturned in your search. The father died, and no sooner was he in his grave than the sons set to work digging with all their might, turning up every foot of ground with their spades, and going over the whole farm 2 or 3 times. No hidden gold did they find, but at harvest time, when they had settled their accounts and had pocketed a rich profit far greater than that of any of their neighbors, they understood that the treasure their father had told them about was the wealth of a bountiful crop, and that in their industry they had found the treasure. Moral: industry is itself a treasure. Of course, one of my old favorites. The 2 pots, one of brass and the other of clay, stood together on the hearthstone. One day the brass pot proposed to the earthen pot that they go out into the world together, but the earthen pot excused himself, saying that it would be wiser for him to stay in the corner by the fire. It would take so little to break me, he said. You know how fragile I am. The least shock is sure to shatter me. Don't let that keep you at home, urged the brass pot. I shall take very good care of you. If we should happen to meet anything hard, I will step between and save you. So the earthen pot at last consented, and the 2 set out side by side, jolting along on their 3 stubby legs, first to this side, then to that, and bumping into each other at every step. The earthen pot could not survive that sort of companionship very long. They had not gone 10 paces before the earthen pot cracked. At the next jolt he flew into 1,000 pieces. Moral: equals make the best friends. The Goose and the Golden Egg. Probably one of his more famous tales. There was once a countryman who possessed the most wonderful goose you can imagine. For every day when he visited the nest, the goose had laid a beautiful, glittering golden egg. The countryman took the eggs to market and soon began to get rich. But it was not long before he grew impatient with the goose, because she gave him only a single golden egg a day. He was not getting rich fast enough. Then one day, after he had finished counting his money, The idea came to him that he could get all the golden eggs at once by killing the goose and cutting it open. But when the deed was done, not a single golden egg did he find, and his precious goose was dead. Moral: those who have plenty want more, and so soon lose all they have. The Fighting Bulls and the Frog. Two bulls were fighting furiously in a field, at one side of which there was a marsh. An old frog lived in the marsh, trembled as he watched the fierce battle. "What are you afraid of?" asked a young frog. "Do you not see," replied the old frog, "that the old bull who is beaten will be driven away from the good forage up there to the reeds of this marsh, and we shall all be trampled into the mud?" It turned out as the frog had said. The beaten bull was driven to the marsh, where his great hoofs crushed the frogs to death. Moral: when the great fall out, the weak must suffer for it. Easy. Relax. Just close your eyes. Close your eyes and drift. The Mouse and the Weasel. A little hungry mouse found his way one day into a basket of corn. He had to squeeze himself a good deal to get through the narrow opening between the strips of the basket. But the corn was tempting, and the mouse was determined to get it. When at last he had succeeded, he gorged himself to bursting. Indeed, he became about 3 times as big around the middle as when he went in. At last he felt satisfied and dragged himself to the opening to get out again, but the best he could do was get his head out. So there he sat, groaning and moaning, both from the discomfort inside him and his anxiety to escape from the basket. Just then a weasel came by. He understood the situation quickly. "My friend," he said, "I know what you've been doing. You've been stuffing. That's what you get. You will have to stay there till you feel just like you did when you went in. Good night, and good enough for you." And that was all the sympathy the poor mouse got. Moral: greediness leads to misfortune. The Farmer and the Snake. A farmer walked through his field one cold winter morning. On the ground lay a snake, stiff and frozen with cold. The farmer knew how deadly the snake could be, and yet he picked it up and put it in his bosom to warm it back to life. The snake soon revived, and when it had enough strength, bit the man who had been so kind to it. The bite was deadly, and the farmer felt that he must die. As he drew his last breath, he said to those standing around him, "Learn from my fate not to take pity on a scoundrel." That is very, very true. Those who have treated you badly when they can stand on their own 2 feet will not treat you better after you help them get back up again. And of course, my accidentally stolen scissors. I will probably have these things until I die. It's kind of like at one of my old jobs, I had a coworker who wasn't decorating her desk, and so I kept threatening I would decorate it for her. One day she came in and she found a very large novelty rubber duck on her desk. It was about yay big. It was huge. She is probably going to have that thing until she retires. It was hilarious. And everybody else was very jealous that she was the only one who got a giant novelty duck. So that is the moral of my story. If you're going to bring in one giant novelty duck for a coworker, make sure you have enough for everyone. And I think we have time for 1 or 2 more. So next up is the Sick Stag. A stag had fallen sick. He had just enough strength to gather some food and find a quiet clearing in the woods where he lay down to wait until his strength should return. The animals heard about the stag's illness and came to ask after his health. Of course, they were all hungry and helped themselves freely to the stag's food, as you would expect. The stag soon starved to death. Moral: goodwill is nothing unless it is accompanied by good acts. And with that, we have come to the end of our video. So as always, I wish you a wonderful day and a wonderful night. Sweet dreams.